Did you know the rules at the time of the collision that if you're in a collision with someone, you need to give your name and information, contact information?
So because I was hit by Mr. Sanderson and he was at fault, I assumed that Eric, who was our ski instructor who was there at the time, who was overseeing the event, he said, I'm going to leave all of your information, and he said, you should go ski down because my kids were waiting for me.
And I appreciate that, but my question was, did you know of the rule of skiing if you are in a collision that you need to share that information?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant. This is not part of their negligence claim.
Overruled. I've overruled. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. At the time of the collision, were you aware of the rule that if you're in a collision, you need to share your name, your contact information with the person that you're involved in a collision with?
I don't think I was aware of the rule.
Okay. Were you aware that there is kind of a rule of common decency to do that?
I would not have left the scene without leaving my information, and my information was left.
Did you provide that information?
No, Eric Christensen, who was the ski instructor with us, said he would leave all the information.
When Moses is saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me," that's who you were looking at when you were when you were skied directly into your back.
I do not recall Moses saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me" on the ski slope.
Okay. Well, Apple was down further, right?
Yes.
She didn't see it.
No.
Okay. And Moses, he was the one, at least according to Carrie Oakes, was calling your attention.
Okay.
Okay. 9-year-old, did he want more attention to have somebody watch them rather than 11?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Moses was skiing above you, though, right? He hadn't gotten down as far as you.
He was on my left.
And up.
I was on the right. He was, oops, sorry. He was on the left side of the slope. Yes, I believe kind of a little bit uphill.
Okay. And that's where your attention was when you were hit, allegedly, in the back.
I don't know where my attention was the moment I was struck in the back. I'm sorry. Well, I was confused at first, and I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a very strange thing to happen on a ski slope.
I agree.
And I froze, and I would say I got very upset a couple seconds later.
Okay. Let me just continue on here. I just want to make sure that I got this all right. I didn't know if it was an intentional assault of a sexual nature.
Right.
Okay. Was he grinding and thrusting or something, or just the noises? What made you think it was a sexual assault?
So that was a quick thought that went through my head when I was trying to reconcile what was happening. I was skiing, and two skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me, and there was a very strange grunting noise. So my brain was trying to make sense of what was happening. I thought, is this a practical joke? Is someone like doing something perverted? This is really, really strange. My mind was going very, very quickly, and I was trying to ascertain what was happening.
Okay. And I think you said, I didn't know if it was an accident, but he was groaning and grunting in a very disturbing way.
Yes, there was a sort of groan coming out of his mouth.
So we've got Mr. Sanderson that's about 5'5" that comes in back of you, and you said that you felt something huge. What was your word behind you?
No, just a big body.
A big body. All right. And was it just the front of his body that touched the back of your body?
I couldn't see in the back of my head.
Sure.
But I felt a body press against my back.
But there was no grabbing, like he didn't like grab your waist or grab your arms?
No, not at all. No.
Nothing like that?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So skis slide between, you kind of freeze, you end up, maybe your skis kind of cross, you end up going down, would you agree that Mr. Sanderson fell to the ground and then you fell on top?
I don't know if it was simultaneous. I don't remember.
Right. But you didn't fall and hit the ground, correct?
I don't remember exactly where I hit,
Okay.
but I fell over
All right. And
with Mr. Sanderson.
right. And Mr. Sanderson fell and hit the ground,
Yes.
right? You're not saying to the jury that this was in any way, shape, or form a sexual assault.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying what went through my mind for a split second when it was happening.
All right, great. So you're down on the ground, and then you started yelling at him.
I don't remember if I started yelling at him while I was on the ground. I remember pushing away because I was very upset, and it was still very strange to me what had happened. And I pushed down the hill, and I turned around and I yelled at him.
Okay. Did you scream before you went down?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if others heard a scream, you wouldn't, that wasn't you?
No, I froze. When he slid between my skis, I absolutely froze. And I don't remember yelling or screaming until I was very angry at what had happened.
Okay. And so you guys are on the ground, and then you said to him, I think you don't know if you were up or if you were still on the ground, but he was still on the ground, right?
Yes.
When you said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Okay. Like, why did you do that?
Yes.
And he said, "I think you skied into me."
Yes.
And that's when you were furious and said, "You skied directly into my effing back," at the
Sorry.
top of your lungs.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I apologize for my bad language.
And well, in fact, you were screaming that so hard, you were worried that Moses was hearing you.
Yes.
Okay. And after you were screaming to him, isn't that when Mr. Sanderson said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry"?
He said, I said, you skied directly into my effing back. And he said, oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Right. Would you agree that Mr. Christensen did not see the incident, didn't see the collision?
Correct.
Okay.
He just saw us right afterwards.
Right. And in fact, nobody from Deer Valley saw the collision.
Correct.
Your kids didn't see the collision.
That's right.
Okay. The only person that, and you may not be aware of this, the only person who says that they saw the collision was Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Okay. The way you answer that makes me think that you don't believe that he saw it.
I did not believe his testimony.
Do you believe that he saw the collision?
No. I don't believe that he saw what he thinks he saw. He said he was at 40 feet away and colorblind. I don't know how he can be positive about what he saw, especially with how much he changed his story.
Well, what does colorblind have to do with anything? My husband's colorblind. We tease him all the time that he can't tell red or green. But what does that have to do with not seeing who hit who?
Well, if you have two people in ski gear with helmets on and you're 40 plus feet away, I'm not sure how you can discern who is who.
Okay, well,
And I can tell you that he didn't, because Mr. Sanderson categorically hit me on that ski slope, and that is the truth.
you learned that Mr. Sanderson broke 4 ribs,
Yes.
okay, and that he sustained a concussion,
Correct.
okay, that he was taken down on toboggan.
Yes.
Did you learn of that day?
No.
Did you inquire?
What is your name again? Sorry. Kristen?
Yes.
Sorry, I was going to say Kristen.
It's all right.
I think you have to keep in mind, when you're the victim of a crash, right, your psychology is not necessarily thinking about the person who perpetrated it.
Okay. So the answer to my question is
No,
you did not
I did
inquire.
not.
Okay. Did you ever ask, hey, how was that guy that ran into the back of me? Is he okay? Did you ever ask anybody from Deer Valley about that?
I did not, because at the time I did not know that he had sustained injuries like that. I thought it was very minor on the day.
And you didn't stick around long enough to find that out.
I stuck around long enough for him to say he was okay, to stand up, that he told Mr. Christensen he was okay.
After the incident, you skied down, went to lunch, and then my understanding is you got a massage.
So after the accident, I met all the rest of the kids at lunch. We all gathered, we had lunch, and I still felt very shaky, and my knee was bothering me, my back was bothering me, so I decided to go in early and get a massage.
Okay. You never did seek any kind of medical treatment for your knee or your back.
No.
And you don't have any other witnesses who sought to support your position, correct?
Well, I have a lot of witnesses who saw the split seconds afterwards and the positions of the bodies on the mountain, which would indicate very clearly who hit who.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses who saw it?
Who saw the collision?
The collision.
No.
And you're bringing this claim for $1.
I am.
Okay. In fact, your counsel, Steve, do you still have that dollar bill? That
Yes, I'll let you use your own.
I'm not gonna even respond to that. Nah, I don't need it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't need it. You saw Mr. Owens wave that $1 around, right?
I did.
Okay. $1 in symbolic damages, is that accurate?
It's an actual dollar that I'm asking for.
Okay, but you also have testified when I asked you questions in your deposition
Yes.
that $1 is symbolic. Do you remember me asking you about
It's symbolic because the damages would actually be more.
that? It's not true, Ms. Paltrow, that you are just asking for $1. You are also asking, and this is not for the jury to decide, but this is for the court to decide later, you're asking for your attorney's fees in this case, which could be quite substantial. Is that not true?
So
It's a
I'm
yes- it's a
asking
yes
for
or no.
$1 for me and then reimbursement of attorney's fees, which is a separate thing,
And that could be a substantial amount, correct?
potentially.
Do you feel some empathy for Mr. Sanderson and his declining brain?
You know, I really do. I feel very sorry for him. It seems like he's had a very difficult life, but I did not cause the accident, so I cannot be at fault for anything that subsequently happened to him.
So his daughter got up and said he was cursing out her daughter. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Did you cause that?
I did not cause that.
Did you give him brain injuries that were evident on his MRI in 2006?
I did not.
There's an implication that at the time of this collision, you were distracted. Were you distracted?
No,
Were you paying attention to where you were skiing?
I was.
Was there anyone in front of you?
There was not.
There's an implication that somehow you're looking at Moses up the hill to the left while you're skiing downhill. Were you doing that?
I was not.
Did he touch you without your permission?
He did.
The sexual part, by the way, that's just for a split second. You're thinking, what's going on here?
Yes, I was trying to put together what could possibly be happening behind me.
A scream. I think there are a couple witnesses that said they heard some noise.
Yes, when we fell.
Is it impossible you let out a noise upon being hit?
I think it's impossible that I let out a noise upon being hit because it was a very slow move. It wasn't an impact. The impact came when we fell on the ground. So it's very possible that when the impact was made, I screamed, but I do not recall making a sound until we were falling or on the ground.
Okay. So a collision, when I think of two skiers hitting each other, I think of a hit and then a sort of separation between the two.
Yes.
Is that what happened with you?
No, this was very strange. It was a slow in between my skis with his skis, and then like 1,000, 2 1,000-ish, and then a fall.
The defense has prepared an animation exhibit that will be shown next week. Have you personally reviewed that?
I have.
And does it accurately state what you believe has occurred that day?
Yes.
Now, it's not precise in the sense that it's not actual video of the event, right? But it does a good job of sort of setting the stage
Yes.
and animating what occurred.
There needs to be some clarification as to what part of the animation he's referring to.
Agreed. It's sustained as to vagueness and
Sure.
therefore relevance.
Sure. Have you seen the animations?
I have.
All right. Not every witness saw everything. Fair to say?
Fair.
All right. For instance, you didn't see anyone in front of you, but you felt someone behind you.
Yes.
So you wouldn't possibly know, for instance, where Sanderson was coming from.
No, he was behind me.
I'm trying to satisfy the
Pardon me?
prior.
Actually leading.
Sustained?
I'm- Does the animation fairly represent your story?
It does.
One thing Craig Ramon said is that Mr. Sanderson was out cold for 2 or more minutes. Do you recall that testimony?
To be honest, he's said so many different minutes, so many times, I don't recall exactly.
All right. Assume that he said minutes, that
Okay.
he was literally unconscious for minutes. Did you observe that?
That Mr. Sanderson was unconscious for minutes?
Yes.
No, he was not.
Or unconscious at all?
I don't know. Based on what I've heard from the doctors, you can be unconscious for a split second, so it's possible he was for a split second.
There was an early comment about a hit and run. Did you hit and run?
Absolutely not.
And Deer Valley was dismissed on that, was a prior party and was dismissed. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
I think there was an allegation that Eric Christensen did some funny business with the paperwork to protect you, his paying client.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance?
Sustained?
Did you expect Eric Christensen to falsify his paperwork?
Of course not.
Going back to the $1, Eric Christensen, you had paid Eric Christensen to take teach your son how to ski that day for the full day. True?
Yes.
And was his attention diverted as a result of your collision?
Yes, for a while.
And that $1 of damages, does that also take into account that fact?
I haven't quantified, if you break it out, what a Deer Valley ski instructor makes per hour, but I think it's more than $1.
The comment was the word symbolic was used, but did you in fact lose $1 or more as a result of the collision?
I did.
Did you hurt yourself? I'm sorry. Did Mr. Sanderson hurt you by hitting you?
He did.
And please explain.
Well, when we fell over, my right knee felt like it had been overstretched and my back hurt.
All right. And you got a massage but did not seek medical care. Is that what I understand?
I did not.
You mentioned about keeping a low profile. You like to keep a low profile
When skiing.
when you're skiing. Correct. Does screaming at the top of your lungs profanities at Mr. Sanderson when he's on the ground keeping a low profile?
After an incident like that where you feel hurt and violated, unfortunately, adrenaline can take over and emotion as well.
Okay. And counsel had asked you about touching you without your permission. I just want to make clear, as we didn't do the little
Dance.
Thank you. Yeah, the little dance. But when I tried to reenact it with myself, which is, I'm sure I'll get for that later from my children. It was the front of his body that you believe touched you, right?
Yes.
Not his arms, not his hands.
Correct.
Okay. And when you guys fell to the ground, you landed on him. He did not land on you.
That's right.
Okay. All right. You screamed when you fell?
What I remember, the first time I remember yelling was at Mr. Sanderson after the accident, but it's possible that I could have yelled when we were falling.
Okay. And then you've described and you've kind of put with your fingers how Mr. Sanderson's skis went in between yours. Do you have any explanation how somebody, if you're moving, because you were moving, right?
Yes.
He's moving.
Yep.
How somebody could, I'm just going to call it thread the needle, stick. How can somebody, as they're moving down this hill, have the ability to put their skis in between yours when they're like 18 inches apart?
I don't know, but that's what happened.
Okay. You testified that this was a crowded run.
There were people on the run.
Okay, but you've just said when I asked you questions earlier, nobody was in front of you.
Nobody was directly in front of me, no.
Okay. Were there people in your vision in front of you?
There were people on the run.
Okay. It was crowded.
It was, I think it was moderately crowded on that day.
Okay. And some of the people were your daughter and Carrie Oakes down below, and your son and Eric Christensen to the left and up a little bit.
I believe so.
Okay. And you've mentioned that Mr. Christensen was kind and patient with your son.
He was.
Okay.
Very much so.
All right. You did pay him a lot and tip him well.
I paid Deer Valley Resort. I don't know what the resort pays their instructors, so that would be a question for them.
Do you tip Mr. Christensen well?
I hope so.
Okay. Me too. But I would hope also if you're going to use this, you'd had him as an instructor before, right?
Yes.
Okay. You would expect him to be kind and patient with your son.
Well, he was kind and patient the first time, which is why we asked to have him again.
Okay. Great. You said that you stuck around, but while you stuck around, you never asked Mr. Sanderson if he was okay.
Correct, because he had hit me and I was very upset.
All right. You still didn't think it would be appropriate to ask somebody if they're all right?
Mr. Christensen asked if he was okay, and he said he was. Meaning Mr. Sanderson.
I think you said that he mumbled it.
He said, I'm okay.
Okay.
Was your head, when you came to arrest, downhill?
Both of our heads were in the same direction, uphill.
So Ramon said they were both downhill.
That is incorrect. The expert today even said it was impossible for him to get lift off, and so that's just not what happened.
The comment was that you cursed at him. Why didn't you say, pardon me, sir, I think you inadvertently ran into me? Why didn't you do that in a nice, calm manner?
Again, I felt violated. I was upset. I was worried about my knee. My back hurt. It felt violating to have somebody press their body against my back. I was full of adrenaline. I was really upset, and I'm sorry that I cursed.
I think Ramon said something like someone gave him the stink eye. Your Coldplay buddy, who wasn't your Coldplay buddy, but gave him the stink eye or something to that effect.
I don't remember that.
A mean look.
I don't know who that would have been, and I don't remember.
Brad probably wasn't too happy that someone had hurt his girlfriend.
Objection beyond the scope.
I'll let it go. Who hit who?
Objection asked and
Oh my
answered.
gosh,
I want it.
what a waste of time.
Sustained.
3 words, Your Honor.
Asked and answered.
We'll let it go. Thank you.
Thank you.